Frodo looked behind. Beyond the fire, the ranks of the orcs had opened, and they crowded away as if they themselves were afraid. Something was coming up behind them, and what it was could not be seen. It was like a great shadow, in the middle of which was a dark form, of man's shape maybe, yet greater. And a power and terror seemed to be in it, and to go before it. It reached the edge of the fire, and the light faded. As if a great cloud had spread over it. And then, with a rush, it leaped across the fissure, and the flames roared up to greet it, and wreathed about it, and the black smoke swirled about it, and its kindling mane blazed out behind it, and in its right hand was a blade, like a stabbing tongue of fire. In its left, a whip of many thongs, a Balrog. Master Gandalf, now I understand. And he faltered and leaned heavily on his staff. The dark figure, streaming with fire, raced towards them, and the orcs yelled and poured over these stone gangways. "Over the bridge!" cried Gandalf, recalling his strength. "Fly! This is a foe beyond any of you. I must hold the narrow way. Fly!" The Balrog reached the bridge, and Gandalf stood in the middle of the span, leaning on the staff in his left hand. But in his other hand, Glamdring gleamed, cold and white, and the enemy halted again, facing him. And the shadow about it reached out like two vast wings, and it raised its whip, and the thongs whined and cracked, and fire came from its nostrils. But Gandalf stood firm. "You cannot pass," he said. The orcs stood still. A dead silence fell. "I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Go back to the shadow. You cannot pass." The Balrog made no answer. The fire in it seemed to die, but the darkness grew, and it stepped forward slowly onto the bridge. And suddenly it drew itself up to a great height, and its wings were spread from wall to wall, but still Gandalf could be seen, glimmering in the gloom. He seemed small, and altogether alone, grey and bent like a wizened tree before the onset of a storm. Then out of the shadow, a red shadow, leaped flaming, Glamdring glittered, white in answer, and there was a ringing clash and a stab of white fire, and the Balrog fell back. And the wizard swayed on the bridge and stepped back a place, and then again stood still. Then, with a bound, the Balrog leaped full upon the bridge. Its whip whirled and hissed, and at that moment Gandalf raised his staff, and crying aloud, "You shall not pass!" he smote the bridge before him, and his staff fell from his grasp. And a blinding sheet of flame sprang up, and the bridge cracked right at the Balrog's feet. It broke, and the stone upon which it stood crashed into the gulf, and the rest remained poised